Chris, you look like you have a thought. You're poised.
Well, I wanted to talk about who else might be dark side.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
well, let's do this.
You know, obviously there's speculation about Luke. I don't think it's the truth. I think it would also ruin Star Wars a little bit,
man. You know.
But
that's why I like your theory that sort of would be that Luke's gem of an idea that would try to make things better actually does produce this darkness in other people.
So is Kylo Ren?
Welcome.
Is Kylo Ren truly dark side? They're framing him as a villain, but is there a switcheroo?
What if he's basically like a sleeper agent, like a undercover? But then why fight Finn?
I think that this movie is going to be him really coming into his own. We see, again, going back to that poster, reading too much into something that might not be that much to read into. He's the biggest face on that poster. And so I think that a lot of this movie is going to be his sort of evolution, because we find out he's sort of a homegrown Sith. If he's probably not even technically a Sith yet. He made his own
some Force
lightsaber
stuff going on. That
yeah, I mean, I think he has the power, but
he
he hasn't been trained, right? That's a Jedi has been trained, someone of the Force who's been trained. Right. But I think that we're really going to see him, start off as someone who's maybe in the middle and end up on either side. It would be a very big bait and switch for him to not be Sith, but maybe by the end he gets a redemption arc that's similar to Vader's.
I think maybe not in this movie, but yeah, maybe ultimately he does get that. But who else? Who else could be dark side?
I have one. I think that Poe Dameron could be the sleeper agent, honestly, because we see that scene where he's sort of being tortured by Kylo Ren, or there's a speculation that the Starkiller base has destroyed Poe Dameron's world, and that's what he's witnessing. But either way, he's clearly not in a good state, and I just wonder if whatever is happening with Kylo Ren, he ends up being turned to the dark side, or maybe even is an unwitting pawn. And then another theory is that Finn rescues him from wherever they're being held, and that's when they get sent to Earth, and maybe that adds this Earth, Jakku, and maybe that's why he also has been minimalized in the marketing, that he could have this darker, more sinister world.
Let's say I was on Mars and the Martians were like, "Hey, I'm gonna blow up Earth. Cool, all the people you love and know are on Earth. I'm gonna blow it up." I don't think I'd turn and be like, "Well, if you can't beat him, join him."
No, but that's what I mean. I think he's like maybe he's just been manipulated to the point.
But
you
don't think he went consciously dark side?
No, I think that he is somehow connected to the dark side, and maybe that moment, that destruction or torture or whatever, happened later in the movie and isn't necessarily.
But the dark side too. Yeah. You can get pulled to it, as they told us over and over, thank you, Yoda, that anger leads to everything leads to the dark side, apparently.
Leads to suffering.
Hate, anger, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
sex.
Premarital
sex.
I mean, that's the implication
it leads
of the
to the dark side.
Luke, Obi-Wan, they're living in caves, people. Come on, maybe if you were out there, I'm just saying Han Solo, nobody's talking about him going to the dark side, and we all know why. But, what if it is something as simple as just his anger at what happened pushes him further and further to just, making bad moral choices out of hurt and anger.
There's some imagery, I think you were saying there's I don't know when we were talking about this or not, but all the imagery in the poster matters, right? Mm-hmm. The fact that Poe Dameron is wearing black in this movie could be as simple as like, hey guys, white hats, black hats, or it could just be a total red herring,
Yeah, I mean, the bad guys wear white. The stormtroopers are all in white.
All right, there goes.
Kylo
Luke
Ren's
Skywalker wore black.
I mean, Han Solo mostly black outfit.
Okay, forgive me.
I'm just saying.
Listen, we don't want to get into the black and white discussion here.
It looks cool. I mean, that's why it looks good. It photographs well. So I'm just saying.
You look good. You feel good.
Look, I'm just saying. These guys have their own aesthetic choices they make too. Captain Phasma, she's like, I want to be badass. I want to look like a giant nickel. And you're going to leg it.
You heard my Poe Dameron theory, but who do you think? Who do you guys think is also in the dark side?
In all seriousness, I'm curious about a character like Maz Kanata. It's Maz, right? Not Naz. Maz Kanata. Because if she's like a pirate and sort of like, is she or isn't she a bad guy kind of thing, like,
She seems to know a lot
I
about
would
this
put
whole
her in the
situation.
Lando
Yeah.
Calrissian camp, where it's kind of like, hey, I'm a player in this universe, but I'm not like
Right.
one of the main
Or
players.
even like Jabba and someone who's
Yeah.
so outside the realm of with someone who's so outside the main,
Right.
good versus evil battle that they have their
That
Well,
guy
I
was just
mean-
good versus evil versus sleazy.
yeah.
Yeah, he seriously, literally was a slum.
Pizza the Hut. He ate himself to death.
Oh man.
But Rey, I think that we can seriously consider whether or not Rey goes to the dark side.
Hell no.
The matching up of her and Kylo Ren, her staff and his saber, and just sort of maybe they are just twins, like basically this universe's answer to Jaina and Jason Solo. But what if, we see her lose her stuff? What if she goes over?
Well, I think that she might be on a parallel journey to him, and that might be what that is symbolizing.
And it pits her ultimately against Finn.
I think she's on a parallel journey to Luke. Like Luke's story in the first, episodes 4 to 6 is going to be like her story will be kind of like a template of that, I think.
Right.
Or
You don't
follow
think that would be
template, I
too
should
much
say.
retreading?
I feel like they're already doing a lot of retreading.
I think it is. I think like consciously, those guys sat down in their story meeting when this whole thing started, and they said, "What worked?" And let's get back to that. And they're like, the trio of characters
Hero's
worked, and this
journey.
hero's journey worked.
I mean,
and
even the planets, a
they
desert
dusted off
planet,
each
an
other's
ice
Campbell.
planet, a Death Star,
They're doing it all
and
in
a
one
forest
movie,
planet.
yeah.
It's all the same things. Yeah.
They started thinking about me like when I was like a 10-year-old kid. I was like, well, snow troopers are cool, but what about flame troopers? That's the kind of stuff I would do.
A snow trooper with a flamethrower.
Where's the electrical trooper I need?
Collect them all.
Well, what do you? Any final thoughts on who we think might go to the dark side?
Oh,
We've
and
kicked
Captain
her-
Phasma,
Captain-
obviously.
Oh.
I want her to be all bad. I know I've said that
yeah,
before.
she better not have any redemption.
Okay,
I
so
want her to
here's
be.
also another important distinction. You can be Empire and not Dark Side, I would say.
Right.
You could just be like
Which
in
is Finn,
like
it looks
that.
like.
Yeah,
I think
that-
General Hux is an example of that,
Yeah.
where he's like Grand Moff Tarkin or any of those. Basically, the what is the banality of evil? Sort of like you're just this soulless bureaucrat, basically, who just like the Adolf Eichmanns and stuff.
But
of
you know
the
what? He
Empire.
probably has a hobby. He probably goes home and waters his plants and
I
pets
will watch
his
that
dog.
web
and-
series of General Hux petting his dog.
I keep bringing this up, and I'm sorry, Jim, but like Jim's nickname for Tarkin was the Death Star Diddler, which happened before you came out. He's just talking about
Creepy
creepy.
looking. And I heard Peter Cushing was a lovely, lovely man.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's always the guys who look scariest are actually the nicest guys.
Yeah, and the opposite.
Yeah.
The nice guys. Watch out
Yeah.
for those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch those.
Well, we want to know, what do you guys think? Who else goes to the dark side in this, not only in this movie, but maybe in this entire new trilogy? Let us know.